If I had to pick one rule when it comes to my life, I think it would be to be more intentional. This has a bunch of benefits when it comes to work and productivity, but I think it's equally important when it comes to how you spend your free time. If you're new here, my name is Jarle, and on Early Owl, we learn to follow through on our intentions. The purpose of being intentional is just that you make an active decision in advance for how you want to spend your time, instead of just doing what comes up or what is easy in the moment. And the important distinction here is that it's not about how you spend your time. Like, it's fine to be intentional and do something lazy or something unproductive. You just want to have made that decision that it's the right thing to do. For productivity, this is important because it forces you to lay out what you want to get done and then prioritize it. And it gives you clarity on what to focus on, which helps you get more done. And when it comes to taking time off, it helps you focus on things you actually want to do and that you find rewarding. And it also makes it easier to just completely disconnect and relax. This also applies to other areas of decision making. Take something like diet. I think it's quite a different thing to decide in advance that you are going out to eat and you want to have a cheat day versus you're just in the store and you see something tempting and then you make the impulse decision to cheat on your diet. If you make the decision in advance to cheat on your diet, then I think it doesn't come with the same amount of guilt. And it also doesn't weaken your resolution in the same way, where you kind of feel like you failed and now you feel like you're on a downward spiral. This is still something I struggle with all the time, but I do notice the pattern that when things are going really well, then I am being very intentional with most things. And when things are going not so well, then I'm not being that intentional with most things. And that's with everything. It's a question of degrees. Like, you don't want to obsessively plan out every second of your day, but you just want to find out a pattern that works for you and work towards that. How I try to live this when I'm on top of my shit is at the start of my workday, I'll have a few hours where I just focus on specific things and I don't let in any distractions. And then from there, it becomes a bit more ad hoc, where as soon as I open up email and I open up Slack, there can be things there which I have to jump on sooner. So I will try to kind of plan out my day in two chunks. Like, one is what I do in the morning, and then I open up the floodgates and I try to replan my day. But the second part is definitely a lot harder than the first part. And when it comes to free time, I think there's three things that are good for me to follow. If it's something that I would like to do because it's good for me, but that I don't always want to do in the moment, then I try to get it done as soon as possible so it's not hanging over me. And the second thing is, if I do decide to have free time, it's like a decision I made in advance that this time I'm not going to feel guilty about anything. I'm not going to feel like I need to check something else. I've decided that this is time off and that's what I'm doing. And the last thing is that I want to focus on what I'm doing. Like, if I decide I want to watch a movie, or if I decide I want to play a game, or if I decide I want to go out with someone and have a coffee, then I want to give that thing as much attention as I can. Like, I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to be doing two things at once, because I feel like if something is not worth my full attention, then I don't want to be doing it. The general rule of thumb I try to follow is, if I decide a day in advance or more that this is what I want to do, then everything is on the table. Like, if there's coming out a new game that I'm excited for, then it's completely fine for me to just take 2 days off work and do nothing but play this game for 2 days. As long as that's something I was like deciding to do in advance. Obviously, sometimes though, circumstances change. Like, if I wake up sick, I'm not going to work, or sometimes I generally feel like I need a break, or sometimes I'm not good at living up to my intentions. But under optimal conditions, how I like to work is that I make the decision in advance that this is what I want to do, and then I follow through. And for leisure, you don't need to plan out exactly what you're going to do, but I think an important distinction here is that you're doing something specific, that you're not just kind of wallowing about and kind of going around doing nothing or just doing endless mind-numbing activities. It's more just that you decide, okay, I want to read this book, or I want to watch this movie, or I want to go out with this friend, and then you're doing that and giving it your full attention instead of just doing some endless activity that is not really enjoyable, but it's just easy. So how do we live more intentionally? I think the first step is just knowing how you want to spend your time. And there's two parts to that. It's planning and routines. When it comes to things like work or studying or projects of that nature, then I think planning is a key component. So either do some weekly planning or some daily planning, where you set out what you want to get done for that time period and have some rough idea of when you want to get it done, and then you execute on that. But when it comes to kind of daily tasks or daily things you want to maintain, like exercise or meditation or reading, then you want to have a routine around that. It can be a specific time of day or a specific point in the day, like after you have dinner, whatever. You just want to have some specific kickoff point to get that done. Time blocking is the next step up from planning. And it basically means that you assign every hour of your workday a specific task. And I find this really helpful in productivity terms when I'm able to do it, but I've not been able to keep it consistently yet. I also have some rules I try to follow, and when I am following them, I kind of feel like I'm moving in the right direction. So for example, no email, Reddit or Slack or anything like that until 1 p.m. And I don't sleep with my phone next to my bed. And when I'm watching something, I do it full screen on my TV without my phone in the room, not making any impulse food purchases. And in addition to having these rules, I try to implement fences that kind of force me to stick with those rules. So that is things like using cold turkey to block off these websites. Or as I talked about in the video about breaking bad habits, I have this kitchen safe thing where I lock away my money to avoid bad impulse decisions. It's important to emphasize that this is not just a switch you turn on and then you're done. This is more just a lifelong commitment to trying to stick to your intentions more. Everyone has periods where they are less intentional or more intentional. And the only thing you can really try to do is move the needle in the right direction. If you like this video, I'll link to a list about productivity here where I talk about some similar topics. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Wednesday.